This is City and State TV. I'm Albany Bureau Chief John Lentz. Joining me today is Beth Finkel, State Director of AARP New York. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And as you know, it's budget season. The governor's put out his budget. Lawmakers are holding hearings. What does AARP New York see in the budget, and what is not in the budget that it would like to see?
Well, we're sorely disappointed in the budget, the way it was presented. 50 plus is the most powerful voting bloc in New York. And there was nothing in that budget that addressed the two top concerns that we see. One of them is around caregiving and support for family caregivers, and the other one is for an independent utility office for oversight for consumers, and there is none.
Well, let's focus on caregiving first. I believe your organization put out a report, or cited a report in 2011 that New York is ranked 48th out of 50 in providing resources for caregivers. What would you like to see done in New York to help caregivers?
Well, right now, there's nothing to really help, or very little to help caregivers support their family members. We know that there are over 4 million family caregivers in New York State, and they are supplying the equal of $32 billion of services. Now, what happens if they are unable to provide those services because they are overwhelmed or because the work is just so stressful for them? And so what happens to those families? Well, we know ultimately a very good percentage of them will end up in institutional care. And we know what institutional care means. Ultimately, it means people on Medicaid. It means more people on the rolls. And then everyone pays. You pay, I pay, the state pays, everybody pays for those extra people that go on Medicaid. So what can we do to stem that flow now? How can we keep people in their homes and in their communities, which we know is what people want? AARP has surveyed our members, and we know that almost 90% of them say they want to age in their own communities with their family and their neighbors. So it only makes good common sense. You know, it's basic kitchen table economics. How do we keep people at home so they get their wishes, they save money, they save themselves money, and more importantly, they also save the tax money?
So as you've noted, the 50-plus population is growing in New York, and it's a politically powerful population. They vote in high numbers. Why do you think the governor is not doing more to address some of your concerns and your organization's members?
I can't speak for where the governor is coming from on that. I can only speak to what our members and what the 50-plus voters have told us are their greatest concerns. And we know that these have to be addressed in the budget cycle.
So the Moreland Commission in New York is getting a lot of attention right now for focusing on public corruption and public ethics. But prior to this existing Moreland Commission, there was another Moreland Commission looking at utilities, looking at storm response, and one thing it called for is a utility watchdog. And that's an issue you've been paying close attention to. Where are we at there?
So we really want that independent consumer utility office. Now here's the governor, right, who called upon experts that he appointed to the Moreland Commission, and they came back and they were very clear, as you just said, that we need an independent watchdog for consumers, because we know that right now 1 million households in New York are falling behind in their payments. They're getting those notices. And we also know that close to 300,000 households lost their, they were terminated. Now, there are 19 million people roughly in New York, right? And we know that 1 million households are having difficulty paying. And we're talking, you know, a lot of older people and a lot of middle class people are struggling with their utility bills. And the other thing that we know is that New York pays the highest rates for utilities in the continental United States. The only one who beats us out is Hawaii. I don't think that that's something that we want to be bragging about. And 40 other states in this country have these independent utility offices. So why is New York lagging behind? Why are we not protecting our consumers? Why are we allowing these rate increases to keep coming on and nobody at the table to watch it? And I'll tell you something else that really upsets us a lot. They hire experts, right? The utilities hire experts to come in and advocate for why they need these rate increases. And guess what? Consumers get billed that $10 million for their experts who are advocating for them. Who's there advocating for consumers? Who's the consumer voice at the table? There is none. I think that's unconscionable.
Well, the governor has taken some steps in regards to utilities. There's a LIPA, they're changing its structure, and Con Ed, I think they came to a deal that'll freeze rates for a while. I think LIPA will
For a
freeze
while.
rates.
For a while, that's the key phrase. The first 2 years of freezes. What does it do after that? Why didn't we come to the table looking for a rate decrease? Why do we come to the table and allow consumers to have to pay more? And it's household consumers, right? That's the other key piece in there.
And is there any legislation in the works that addresses either the caregiver issue or the utility issue?
Yes, as a matter of fact, Dinowitz and Savino have a same-as bill to create that watchdog utility oversight. So that's exciting for us.
And are there any other issues you're looking at this year?
Well, I think what we want to look overall is how New York State is going to be prepared for the age boom. And clearly the caregiving is a very big piece of that. And so we're going to be looking at the kitchen table economics of how do people remain in New York State, how do they retire and stay in New York State because of the cost of everything. People sit down at their kitchen tables just like you do, just like I do. And how can we afford to stay here? And we need, as New Yorkers, to figure out a way to make sure that they're staying here, because if they leave, they take their pensions with them, they take their Social Security with them. We're calling that boomer flight. And if we don't step in right now, you know, every 15 seconds, someone else in this country turns 50. Every 15 seconds. It's huge. And in 2014, the last baby boomer will turn 50 in December. So how are we prepared for that?
Beth Finkel, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for giving us this time.